Thank you. Alright, everyone, I am ready when you are. This is my timekeeper, Joseph. Joseph, can you go ahead and tell them how you're going to give them time signals, please?
Yeah, so it's up to y'all. Usually I do time signals like this. This is 1 minute left. This is 30 seconds left. This is 15 seconds left. And this means you don't have any time left, so you should stop talking. Right?
Is it, I'm sorry, is it permissible to just have a timer here as well?
Yeah, no, you should totally have your own timer to look at it. That's cool. Just these are the time signals that I will use to indicate what my clock has on it.
Thank you, Joseph. And I am ready for the first speaker of the week.
Did you say you're prepared, ready?
Yes, Jared, I'm ready.
Actually, give me a few seconds. I had an ADD moment and lost my phone somewhere in the union.
Is it the one that's all the way over there?
Probably.
Samsung?
Yeah.
You want me to grab it for you?
No, you're good. You can use my laptop.
Okay. I got this, y'all.
I'll be good with my laptop boost.
I think we're waiting on this.
Yeah. Alright. I'm good when y'all are.
All right. Good evening. My name is Jared, and I am here to affirm that college campuses should adopt the vaccine mandate for COVID-19. A mandate, defined by Merriam-Webster, is an official order to do something. A vaccine mandate is a law that enforces a vaccination against a certain disease. As stated by the CDC, Center for Disease Control and Prevention, when a sufficiently large proportion of individuals in a community is immunized, those persons serve as a protective barrier against the likelihood of transmission of disease in the community. Listen, men lie, women lie, but numbers don't. Studies have shown and proven that the increase in vaccination rates have decreased the amount of COVID cases. By receiving the vaccine, we are not only doing a service for yourself, but we are doing a service for the people around you. On a college campus, it is almost impossible to enforce mask and 6 feet social distancing policies while still maintaining a fun and educational environment. Listen, we're college students. We're gonna wanna live the college lifestyle, and we're gonna wanna go out and party and hang out with our friends and participate in student organizations. By doing so, we are putting each other at harm by doing this. A common argument that I hear in the COVID-19, or is that COVID-19 is more dangerous to the elder or the immune compromised, meaning you have a weakened immune system that puts you at higher risk of COVID-19. And that because college students are between the ages of 17 and 18, they are not at risk of hospitalization. Yes, that may be true, but there are still teachers, vendors, custodial services that have a broad range of age groups. Not only that, but some students are parents who have to go back to their children who are unable to receive the vaccine at this moment. Now, long before COVID-19, states have mandated vaccines. According to the Pew Research Center, all 50 states plus the District of Columbia mandate tetanus, whooping cough, polio, measles, rubella, and chickenpox. In addition, every state except Iowa mandate immunization against mumps. Vaccine mandates go back to the 19th century, where Jacobson versus Massachusetts set a precedent for requiring children to be immunized against smallpox. What is our goal here? We are trying to get back to a sense of normalcy, a sense of livelihood. If the numbers show that COVID cases are decreasing with the number of vaccinations increasing, why would you want to be a part of the conceited group that hinders the positive results? Texas Department of State Health Services require all entering students at an institution of higher education are required to show proof of any vaccination or booster booster dose during the 5-year period of enrolling. Why is no one objecting to this vaccine mandate? When was the last time you heard of meningitis outbreak? It's been a while, right? It's because everyone was quick to hop on board with the vaccination to limit the spread of the virus. And now we live in the States where we haven't heard of this incident happening in decades. One circling fear of the vaccine is it safe? A common rumor has gone around concerning that the COVID-19 vaccine could cause infertility in women. According to the MU Healthcare Family Medicine Dr. Laura Morris, MD, states there is no plausible reason, no medical or scientific mechanism for this vaccine to interact with a woman's reproductive organs or have any interaction with an egg that's been released or fertilized. Nor is there any evidence that makes this claim true. It is only a myth. In fact, for pregnant women with the COVID-19 vaccine benefit from breastfeeding. It protects them from many infections. It is not proven that breast milk protects babies from SARS-CoV-2, the virus that causes COVID-19. But however, several studies have found antibodies that target the virus in human milk. In addition, breastfeeding infants are generally less likely to have severe respiratory symptoms when they get sick. With the vaccine, you're already helping children that are unable to receive a COVID-19 shot. Once again, I ask, why would you want to be a part of a conceited group that is against children benefiting from the effects of COVID-19 vaccinations? Also, more than 99.99% of people fully vaccinated against COVID-19 have not had a breakthrough case resulting in hospitalization or death. First, COVID-19 vaccines were evaluated in tens of thousands of participants in clinical trials. These clinical trials underwent the most intensive safety monitoring in the U.S. history. The vaccines met the FDA's rigorous scientific standards for safety, effectiveness, and manufacturing quality needs to support approval or authorization of a vaccine.
Yeah, you're good.
Since the end of the Industrial Revolution, vaccines have undoubtedly saved millions, if not billions of lives. Mothers do not have to worry now if their children will make it past the age of 10. But today, we see a vaccine pushed onto us like never before. My name is Enrique, and I'm here to say that distrust in the government, the companies behind vaccines, and questionable motives all show that mandate would be a direct violation of our bodily autonomy. Now, to start off, why should we trust the vaccine, the big pharma on this vaccine? According to thisviewoflife.com, an online magazine based on all things science reported that the Centers for Disease Control reports that between 1999 and 2016, more than 630,000 people died from a drug overdose involving prescription opioids or heroin. The number of deaths is stunning. What's even more stunning, though, is that the top 2 biggest pharmaceutical companies in the world, which according to pharmaceuticaltechnology.com, which are a website focusing specifically on issues relevant to pharmaceutical professionals, are number 1, Johnson & Johnson at $56.1 billion, and number 2, Pfizer at $51.75 billion. These numbers are from October of last year. No doubt these numbers have grown. Now, are we just going to ignore the landmark 2019 Oklahoma trial in which Johnson & Johnson was ordered to pay $572 million to the state? Oklahoma Attorney General Mike Hunter stated that the pharmaceutical giant Johnson & Johnson ran a cunning, cynical, and deceitful scheme to mass market opioid painkillers that created the biggest drug epidemic in U.S. history. Now, when people can't get more painkillers, they resort to dirtier drugs like heroin. These addictions are hard to beat. How can we as a nation tell that people that have suffered from the opioid epidemic or witness someone that have suffered from the opioid epidemic that they must take a vaccine from these companies or risk unemployment or being kicked out of school? Furthermore, an argument that is widely used is that since the vaccine is FDA approved, it must be safe. The Vaccine and Drug Administration, or FDA for short, is a federal agency in the United States that is responsible for protecting the public through administration of foods, dietary supplements, medicines, vaccines, and much more. The problem with this is that plenty of unsafe chemicals are approved by the FDA and are in our everyday foods. For example, the FDA has approved the use of nitrates in foods. Nitrates are color-enhancing agents used in processed foods, such as meats and cheeses. Nitrates have been linked time and time again to cancer, as a 2006 report by the International Agency for Research on Cancer classified nitrates as a possible human carcinogen. Carcinogens being a substance capable of causing cancer in living tissue. Going back to what I was saying earlier about the opioid epidemic, these drugs had to be approved by the FDA to be sold. The FDA does not check on the long-term effects of substances. These vaccines have been widely available for a few months. How can we possibly know the long-term effects? Distrust in the government is already at an all-time high. We saw the effects of this on January 6th during the Capitol insurrection. Mandates like these with only worse intentions. With this being said, is this mandate really for our safety, or are there other financially motivated reasons? Why, in 2020, when vaccines were still not as widespread as they are today, did the NCAA football season still go on? If colleges truly believe COVID-19 is dangerous enough to warrant a vaccine mandate, then why were collegiate athletes still allowed to travel across the country, come in extreme contact with other players, and return to their campus? It's not like they were just running around. They were hitting each other, sweating, coming in extreme contact. So, granted, lots of these colleges were through online courses, but a year later, these campuses have allowed students and fans to come pack stadiums as if COVID never happened without any screening as to whether they were vaccinated or not. So, according to ourworlddata.org vaccine tracker, as of November 2nd, 2021, only 58.4% of Americans are fully vaccinated. If nearly half the stadium is not vaccinated, this allows for COVID to spread like fire, even to the vaccinated fans who can still be infected and can still spread the virus. Now, I love football as much as the next guy, but if colleges are worried about COVID, football would be paused. Now, this is never going to happen, though, as admission alone brings in millions of dollars. According to USAToday.com, at least 19 schools reported that football ticket revenue of at least $20 million, including 11 at more than $30 million. Ohio State led the way at nearly $51 million. The top 38 ranked college football teams in the nation all bring in over $100 million each. This doesn't even include revenue from other sports such as basketball and soccer. UNT, for example, isn't even one of the biggest football schools in the nation, but they still bring in nearly $40 million in ticket admissions alone. So, even total revenue. Even Dr. Fauci doesn't believe that returning the games is a safe idea, as the CNBC.com reports that he believes that the games will keep us in a perpetual outbreak mode as the infection will continue spreading throughout fans and even some players.
All right, well, I have to say that, first of all, you have to understand what the CDC is standing for and what it was built for. So on July 1st, 1946, the CDC opened its doors for the first time for the primary mission to prevent malaria from spreading across the nation. Today, CDC is one of the major operating components of the Department of Health and Human Services and is recognized as the nation's premier health promotion, prevention, and preparedness agency. So you have to believe in somebody, right? These guys are the experts and they're trained at what they do. It's almost like saying you want to defund the police and you're against police, right? But whenever the time comes and someone breaks into your home, you're going to be calling on those police officers, right? So you're sounding very hypocritical. Also, to add on to that, the concerns regarding the long-term effects of the vaccine can be comforted that the CDC reports that serious side effects that could cause long-term health problems are extremely...
There's supposed to be a cross-section.
Yeah, there's a
area.
crossfire next. I'm so sorry,
Is this a
dude.
question?
No, I'm going. This is our crossfire. Like, we can
This is your crossfire?
Okay,
Okay.
I'm cool with that.
Me too. Keep going.
The serious side effects that could cause long-term health problems are extremely unlikely to following any vaccination, including COVID-19
Well,
vaccination.
the problem with that, though, is that you don't know that yet. If this vaccine hasn't been widespread for even a year, though. We've only had it for a few months. Most of us maybe even 1 or 2 months. So there's no possible way we can understand these long-term effects.
Yes, but vaccine monitoring has historically shown that side effects generally happen with 6 weeks of receiving a vaccine dose. For this reason, the FDA requires each of the authorized COVID-19 vaccines to be studied for at least 2 months, 8 weeks after the final dose.
Well, I want to go back to something you said earlier. You were comparing back to COVID to meningitis. That's a big problem, though, because the death rate of meningitis is between 15 to 20%, while the COVID death rate is between 0.25 and 3%. You can't compare these two diseases as if they're very similar, because they're not. One is clearly much more deadly than the other. Now, in COVID, for instance, it affects...
Next time.
So this is going to be the next 2 chapters. Let's put the negative.
It's the app.
No, it's not affirmative attack.
So, when advocating for mandates, it is important to recognize the fact that the debate topic never specified what kind of mandate we should be considering. Thus, it is equally important to recognize the difference between what is considered a soft mandate and what is considered a hard mandate. The Scientific American defines a hard mandate as students or workers that cannot attend class or the workplace unless they are fully vaccinated. And soft mandates as the choice to vaccinate or undergo regular testing and wear masks. Our team understands that implementing hard mandates would be difficult, so we are advocating for the soft variation. We acknowledge the fact that it would be an extreme challenge to American legislators to pass a law that required the American population to get a vaccine with little room for exemption. However, by instituting a soft mandate, as the Scientific American defines, the inconveniences that follow it pose an increased chance that Americans will make the move to become vaccinated, as it is safe to say that most college students will grow tired of having to fit in getting tested regularly to their already busy schedule, or continue wearing a mask through the hottest months of the year, while they can continue to see more and more of their peers unmasked and vaccinated. This would be a much more effective way to instate a vaccination mandate at a university. There are no downfalls of enforcing a mandate in this manner, as it does not necessarily force anyone to do anything against their will, thus preventing the argument that mandates would encroach on American freedoms. However, it still inspires action, which still makes it a true mandate, as the Merriam-Webster Dictionary defines a mandate in the context of a verb as a direction or requiring someone to do something. And this type of mandate does exactly that. By inspiring indirect action, progress will still be made, and undoubtedly for the better. Take our very own campus, for example. The University of North Texas had what we consider to be a soft mandate, where students were urged to be vaccinated and upload proof of doing so, or otherwise have to submit a negative COVID test within a 10-week interval. With this soft mandate, by September 10th, 2021, the UNT COVID reporting website stated that 12,452 people, 9,919 of those being UNT students, 1,047 of those being UNT faculty, and 1,486 of those being UNT staff. The vaccine incentive program led to an increased number of vaccinations themselves, and in turn, with just this amount of vaccinated people on campus, UNT has had a 3.52% positivity rate in COVID cases as of October 31st, 2021. Soft mandates do not encroach on anyone's personal freedom or choices, but rather they provide a significant nudge in the right direction for all members of the community, something that would be incredibly unethical if not just blatantly ignorant to disagree with. Furthermore, individuals are free to decline to give information about whether they received a shot, but if they do decline, they must expect reasonable consequences to ensure everyone's health. Additionally, Scientific American states federal health information privacy rules apply principally to healthcare providers and not to businesses or schools. All actions have consequences. This is not a new concept to anyone. Freedom of choice is important. However, as colleges also have these freedoms, it allows them to ethically implement these mandates, may they be soft mandates or hard mandates. Another issue that we face is what social scientists call social mobilization. Social mobilization involves getting large numbers of people to perform a behavior that is only beneficial when done by the vast majority of people. Take recycling for an example. If just one person recycles, their efforts are negligible. But if millions of people recycle, then there are tremendous environmental benefits. The same logic applies and holds for vaccinations. The real benefit only occurs when an overwhelming majority of the population is vaccinated. To address a range of social problems, the task is to get a significant number of people to engage in certain behaviors.
To touch more on what Enrique said about the financial gains of a vaccine, a free vaccine is never really free. People keep saying that, but these big pharmaceutical companies are making money off of this vaccine, especially Pfizer. According to the New York Times, Pfizer brought in $900 million before taxes in the first 4 months of 2021 when the vaccine was rolled out. Just from the vaccine alone, that's what they made. And according to the World Health Organization, Pfizer has not been helping out with distributing vaccines in poorer countries because they're not making a profit off of it. They want to be able to distribute the vaccine in richer nations because that's where the money is. And so if campuses were to implement vaccine mandates, then they would be making a lot of money, especially in large public universities. They would make a lot of money off of that. And so it seems very convenient for vaccine mandates to be being pushed out when there is a lot of financial interest by Big Pharma. And it's not just a concern for Big Pharma, it's also universities. They are making more money by having people on campus than online. Having a hybrid class system does not bring them as much tuition money as having people on campus. So having people vaccinated and on campus and not offering them an online version of school is for their own financial interest. And people who are at risk, like professors maybe, some students, they should have an option for online classes if they are concerned. People should not have to give up their bodily autonomy for other people when these universities could very easily offer a solution by allowing people to have online school. But they don't, because it's all about the money. And there are also many social implications of having a mandate. According to CNBC, a lot of students are being forced to drop out of college because some universities are not doing a soft mandate. They are enforcing a hard mandate. And they aren't allowed to have, they don't have the option for online school. They don't have a say. They just have to drop out of school. And according to USA Today, some veterans who are back at school are having their GI Bill benefits taken away from them if they are not vaccinated and are enrolled in a university. And it includes housing benefits, it's tuition money, all of that. And aren't these the same people that fought for our freedom, yet they don't have freedom of choice themselves? That goes for everybody. We live in a country where we should be able to choose, but we don't have that option with the vaccine mandate. And we don't really know how long these vaccines are effective for anyways. According to Los Angeles Times, a study showed that Moderna dropped from 89% effectiveness to 58% effectiveness in the span of 8 months. Pfizer, 87% to 45%. And Johnson & Johnson lost 50% effectiveness within those 8 months. So do these schools plan on enforcing us to get continual boosters, like once a year, twice a year? That's unprecedented. What are their protocols for that? Because if people are just getting the shot once, if that's what they're asking us, then it's not actually going to provide this large safety net because the effectiveness will wear off. People can start to get COVID again. And people would not have to be forced to get this vaccine if they had more trust in the CDC. According to the CDC's own website, they have flip-flopped around on what is safest for us. First, it was we didn't need masks. Then it was we did need masks. Then we needed a vaccine. And then we needed a vaccine and still masks and social distancing. And why should we trust them now? What if in 3 months they say that the vaccine isn't actually working? What then?
Yeah,
hold on.
absolutely.
Yeah. I'm gonna start that in 3, 2, 1.
How much time? Sorry.
Ready?
Yeah, so you have a minute and 22 left. Probably want to write that down.
I'll write it down.
This is the cross side.
So one thing that I'm noticing is that y'all are neglecting to address the positive effects of the mandate. And you're mentioning financial interest, but financial interest isn't really relevant to the topic. And if anything, if you want to get into that realm, the desire for wealth inspires companies to compete and create more effective vaccines. People want to have the best one, so that that's the one that start ordering. That's what people are getting. Competition is a good thing, and booster shots aren't really anything new because you can get a booster shot for meningitis.
But are schools going to be requiring those booster shots? I mean, if they already have a vaccine mandate, then they can start requiring us to get shots every 6 months, every another year. And why should we have to do that when you're saying that it protects the greater population? Well, why should we have to do something for your own family? If you want to get a vaccine to protect the people around you, then that's great. But people shouldn't have to make these choices to it's your own personal decision.
But like I said earlier, when I was mentioning the topic of social mobilization, things aren't going to work unless everyone's on board with it. So it's kind of pointless to have the vaccine and not have people taking it.
You still have 25 seconds.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. So yeah, I mean, but that's people's own choice. And we're talking about competition, but there's not really that much competition. I mean, 2 of those vaccines are from the largest companies in the world.
Right, and you do have choice, but you also have consequences. So, one of those consequences can be
Yeah.
So my name is Isabella, and I wanted to discuss that colleges should implement a vaccine mandate on all of them.
Hey, Purchase Officer, would you speak up a little bit louder?
Oh yeah, of course.
Thank you so much.
So my team members have made really great and strong points explaining the effectiveness of the vaccine, the moral implication to get the vaccine, highlighting topics as social mobilization. So instead of thinking it very individualistically mindset, you should be wanting to get the vaccine not only to protect yourself but to protect others. So with the vaccine, the COVID vaccine was implemented at a faster rate, so that would scare some other people. However, the vaccine was implemented at a faster rate because of all the research going into it. Usually vaccines get approval for about 10 years, but the researchers that went into this, with all the money allocation going into it, it obviously sped it up because it was a worldwide pandemic situation. So therefore it is important that UNT remains keeping its soft mandates, giving students and staff the choice to vaccinate and undergo regular testing, because as Tegan mentioned earlier, since October, the cases have been, positive cases have been 3.52%, which is considered low compared to most areas of Texas. So instead of thinking that, it's being forced on you, it's really an ethical, it's crazy to disagree with for an ethical reason, honestly. And as the definition stated, this mandate allows FDA evaluates data and information, including the manufacturer's submission of biologics license application called BLA. It's basically a comprehensive document that is submitted to the FDA, providing very specific requirements. So for Pfizer, for example, they had to get a lot of data on extensive data information, and then they went through preclinical and clinical trials in humans in order to make sure that it was effective for us to put into our bodies. So the way it works is there is not a microchip in it, which a lot of people think it is. The mRNA is used by the body to mimic one of the proteins in the virus that causes COVID-19. So this will allow your body and the immune system to react defensively to the virus that causes COVID-19. So in fears of the side effects, honestly, they're very rare, as the CDC has mentioned, and the pros outweigh the cons. I personally think you should get the vaccine because of the side effects long-term wise have been proven to not be there. In addition, I wanted to touch on the vaccine being free. The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services have stated that COVID vaccines are 100% free for every living individual in the United States. Considering that there's 27.5 million people in the United States who do not have health insurance and is an ongoing issue in the United States, this is an amazing incentive for people to get their vaccines. The HRSA uninsured program allows the vaccine to be free because it is part of the legislation that includes the Families First Corona Response Act, the Paycheck Protection Program, and Healthcare Enhancement Act, Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act. All these acts are implemented for people to, want to get the vaccine to make sure that it's free and make sure that we can tackle this pandemic and stay on top of it in order to allow uninsured individuals to also benefit from getting the vaccine. It is able to be free as a special arrangement between the insurance manufacturers and the general federal government. So I wanted to touch on that. The CDC currently approved all the COVID vaccinations, and they have been proven to show that they're highly effective against hospitalization and death for a variety of strains. So right now, the main strain that's causing most vaccinations, which is 83%, is Delta. So the vaccine with these strains will prevent hospitalization and death. It will reduce,
Y'all want to take your 2 minutes of prep right now?
Yeah, we'll take our. Oh wait, no, we don't take yours.
They're gonna take theirs. Yeah. I mean, unless you want to gift them yours, you can do that.
That was the negative good. That was the affirmative good.
Yeah, the speaker just first. And have a negative statement.
Okay, we're ready.
I'm gonna count off.
All right.
Caroline.
You'll have a minute 40 left.
Hey, Caroline, count off. 3, 2, 1, go. The vaccine mandate dictates college students and teacher statuses. If the vaccine mandate is enforced, do the universities put into consideration that the vaccine is politicized, which is a reason some students and teachers do not want to be vaccinated? The vaccine has become very politicized, which polarizes people in educational communities, forcing people to make decisions that are not by their own will. People may react to the vaccine negatively. According to an AP News article, students have been expelled from school for not complying with the vaccine mandate. This puts a dent in students who don't want to be vaccinated or religious by avoiding taking the exemption for the vaccine have been kicked out by college universities. Students have less access to connect with their teachers and classmates. This forces students to go in quarantine without any decisions that can be chosen. Teachers are filled with confusion and frustration about the fact that their students are quarantined, hindering their opportunities. Some teachers and other faculty members are tempted to resort to resigning from their jobs if mandate is enforced, connected to Caroline's point. Are state officials being mindful of students coming from overseas that come from different healthcare systems? If so, what guidelines and criteria are provided for overseas students? International students must be prepared for revaccination if it is required. If revaccination is involved, what are uncertainties that are in the vaccine that is not mentioned? Are college universities informing people ahead of time or at the last minute possible to where it might be received on time or not when it comes to international students? Some international college students do not have access to information on college universities' health protocol in the United States. For international students who come to the U.S. for college, they are out of the loop, resulting in figuring out what vaccines are required to attend the university. The state level restrictions create more fuel to the fire because that's more hidden information that international students did not attain when they applied for the college universities. At any moment, vaccines can be changed over time, which puts international students in suspense if they took a vaccine that has not been approved by the FDA, which is the Food Drug Administration in the United States, or WHO, World Health Organization. Why vaccine mandates are unwise to be enforced? This year, the Pfizer, J&J, Moderna vaccine were released and approved by the EUA, Emergency Use Authorization, an agency that authorizes for FDA in the United States. Currently, 8 COVID vaccines have been approved by WHO. Those 8 vaccines are Pfizer, BioNTech, 3 versions of AstraZeneca vaccines, Johnson & Johnson, Moderna, Sinopharm, and Sinovac. The common ingredients inside the vaccine are aluminum salts, neomycin, polymycin B, streptomycin, and gentamicin. Gentamicin has the potential to harm kidneys, and neomycin should not be taken in large amounts than what was recommended. If neomycin is not taken properly, it also causes kidney problems severely, as well as hearing loss that may not be cured. Also, the FDA noted that the EUA is a mechanism to facilitate the availability and the use of countermeasures, including vaccines during public health emergencies such as the current COVID-19 pandemic. Under EUA, FDA may allow the use of unapproved medical products or unapproved uses of approved medical products in an emergency to diagnose, to prevent serious or life-threatening diseases or conditions when certain statutory criteria have been met, including that there are no adequate approved and available alternatives. Currently, there are still COVID-19 vaccines that are under review by the EUA. The vaccine having unapproved ingredients inside the vaccine makes the mandates a big risk. For instance, the polio vaccine was created by Dr. Jonas Salk to cure polio. The vaccine was looked over by Bernice E. Eddy, who was a veteran scientist. While she was examining the samples, she found an infectious virus that paralyzed and sickened children in 1955. Just because something is approved by the FDA doesn't mean it's always safe. For instance, Tylenol approved by the FDA is approved by the FDA. Tylenol has acetaminophen that in the side effects are nausea, stomach pain, loss of appetite, itching, rash, headache, dark urine, clay-colored stools, and jaundice. Data from CDC stated that from age ranges 0 to 17 and the 2021 year deaths involving COVID-19 is 576, and the age range for the 18 to 19 deaths involving COVID-19 is 4,288. Adding both deaths with COVID-19 involved is 4,864. The average age of a college student is 21.8 years old, according to the educationdata.org. Comparing that death total to the 30 and older age ranges deaths for COVID-19 is 743,300 deaths, which is a huge difference. The younger adults are less likely to die from COVID-19.
No, this is the stop symbol. For your good. My God, please drink some water.
Please drink some water.
Should've got the booster.
Yeah, man.
We got Grand Cross. I'll start whenever somebody starts.
Did y'all not hear me at the beginning? I literally said men lie, women lie, numbers don't. If getting a vaccination has shown and proven to be highly effective at preventing hospitalization, that means healthcare workers are no longer overworked. Hospital beds are available for other health-related issues. Remember the whole government shutdown? Remember how everyone was scared for their life and rationing things such as toilet paper and water? This is what fear looks like. Everyone was looking for an answer, looking for a solution. And once we have a solution, you don't want to be involved with it?
The CDC didn't even understand what was going on. They told us we would be safe. We weren't.
I just find it very interesting that he said international students need to be careful about getting vaccinated, but then in mainland China, the fully vaccinated is 77%, in Australia it's 78%.
Dude, vaccination
Brazil
equals
is
decreasing COVID
77%,
cases.
in the US is 69%.
What is your goal here? What's our goal? Please explain to these
why international
cases.
students are more at
Decrease
risk.
the
It doesn't make
risk,
any sense.
decrease the spread, and increase the chances of us getting back to a normal
Please explain
livelihood.
to me why international
Whether you like it or
students are
not,
more
you
at risk
cannot
when they
deny
have
the fact that
stricter
vaccination
guidelines.
mandates do
Than in the
increase the
US.
number of
Because when it
COVID
comes to the
cases.
US, it can change from any time. Like the
So can any other country. So can any other country change at any time. And we have been the most lax, one of the most lax countries when it comes to vaccination. In China, they are fully vaccinated at 77%. We are at 59%. In Brazil, it's 61%. We are at 59%. Australia, it is 71%. We are 59%. Then why?
Okay, not if people
then-
are vaccinated here, that's great. They got to choose to do that.
And especially veterans are losing
But
their
you
GI
guys are saying that we have to wear
explaining
masks,
because
making a choice to wear a
international students
mask.
are more at
losing
risk.
their GI Bill.
It's the
with
same
vaccine
thing. We
mandate.
have a solution now. Y'all want to be a part of the positive
It
outcome
should
of
be a
it.
choice. You shouldn't be forced by the government to do anything you don't want to.
Y'all are forcing us to social distance 6 feet. Y'all are forcing us to wear a
So
mask.
I haven't heard any solution.
In the vaccine.
I have not heard
You're
any
literally making us
solution.
change our whole livelihood.
I have not heard
getting a
any
You
vaccination.
can react to that
You
negatively.
can still
I have heard no solution.
That mask mandate was
I've heard
enforced.
absolutely no solution.
It was a mandate.
If you do not want the vaccine, what is the other option?
You don't.
I have heard nothing.
You can't-
That's
you can't force
you
something
just
on
want COVID. You just want COVID to just keep going.
Imagine being
You
so
have no
selfish that you
options.
choose
There are
not to
no
get a
other options.
vaccine
You have
just to
provided
go to an
nothing.
alternative of distancing from your friends and loved ones, not
You
being
say-
able to breathe
yeah.
the fresh air normally due to the
Okay.
fact we have to wear
So
masks.
you say if we
Imagine
don't get
having
the
to
vaccine,
repeat
we should
yourself
all wear
constantly
masks
because you're
We
unable
should
to
all
hear
wear
your
masks.
friends because
Look
he's
at
6 feet away.
everywhere here.
No
Are we social
sporting events,
distancing
no
right now?
gatherings. This debate wouldn't be able to happen because we
We are
have
not social distancing
vaccinations.
right now.
That's the thing. The COVID vaccine should be a choice. I am vaccinated. It was a choice that
But
I
what?
made.
So do you just want COVID to stay?
COVID shouldn't stay because people should
Then
go out
what?
and
Then
be able to take vaccines
how are you going to get rid of it?
by
And
taking the vaccine.
I want to go back to y'all saying that we shouldn't trust these high-end people. Who are you going to choose to trust then? Who are you going to choose to trust? Care now? Come on. Hey, good job, guys.
I'm loving the strategies. All right.
This is great. Okay,
Um,
everyone.
Did y'all get that?
We will be doing that. We will be doing that. Just.
Is it
I do not think we are close enough to use the place to plug it in.
yeah, I'll use,
This is a challenge. Are y'all taking prep right now?
yeah.
Oh, cool, because we're doing our own thing. Cool. You got like a minute 22. I'm gonna prep you. Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Well, should I move over here?
There is, we're trying to find an outlet. There's one there, and one there. Trying to figure out what the best one for you is to be able to hear is. Unless there's one on the deck.
Can you start our time once this is done?
Yes.
Koi. Koi.
Yeah.
This will do.
Yeah, Kendall, there's an outlet. Yeah, we got a table too.
Yeah, so,
There's an outlet underneath this.
Our water quality.
There's an outlet right here.
Oh, this yours?
yeah, so
No.
she can either move there or take us home up here, she can bring.
Yeah. Kendall, if you want, we can move a chair right here.
That'd be good. That'd be good.
Okay. Go ahead and move your charger over there.
Okay.
And then however you want to do it. So yeah, if you want to get up and we can move a chair to this table at the front of the room over here. And then I'll get your cane and stuff for you. Alright. And I'll help you move your stuff. But real quick. And then the table is keep on moving this way. The table is right here. This is chair right in front of it. Cool. And
How do babies make down and take for the last two species?
there's no more questions.
Okay.
Oh,
Gonna
no,
go.
Ready?
That's like both y'all's questions.
Alright, so
Yeah. So both are 0. Make sure Kendall can hear you because she's kind of in an awkward position now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so just make sure you project.
of course.
Yeah.
Hold on, hold on.
And she's still getting ready, so give her.
Alright.
Oh, did your work come up well? Oh, dang. Sorry about that.
What's that?
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I didn't realize that your work came up well. How many times are you going to say that? You're like, oh, sometimes look good on your board.
I did not say that.
That's
I'm
implied.
ready for the Palooza summary, so Kate, whoever is on the Palooza summary, I'm ready.
Ready? Okay. In conclusion, the COVID vaccine has been proven to be safe due to the historical precedence of vaccines, the effect it has had on decreasing COVID cases, and its proven safety. We have provided solid evidence and statistics from reputable sources against these arguments and have shown why college campuses need vaccine mandates. Without them, we are not only putting college lives at risk, but we are unwittingly risking the lives of millions of other strangers who are at risk for the deadly side effects of COVID-19. The negative has stated that the companies that have developed the vaccines are untrustworthy, and while they do have evidence for their statement, they ignore the effectiveness of the vaccine and focus on the financial benefits that these medical companies have, which frankly do not have any effect on the effectiveness of the vaccine. Even so, they contradict themselves by critiquing the FDA, yet praising a vaccine developed by someone who worked with them closely. They praise the meningitis vaccine developed by John B. Robbins, who worked with the FDA. So they're being hypocrites and misleading us with this. They say international students are more at risk and they will have trouble migrating over here because of vaccine rules or whatnot, but fail to ignore the fact that most other major population countries have a much higher vaccination rate than the United States. Vaccine mandates have always faced some resistance, yet they are always accepted for the greater good of the human race. It is amazing that we have been ordered to receive vaccines for our entire lives, yet when a true pandemic strikes our country, we have suddenly been resistant to receiving the thing that is most effective at preventing the disease. While there are some concerns about how quickly it has been developed, multiple scientific organizations have vetted for the safety of the vaccine, and the opposition has not provided any other organizations that may provide some resistance to the vaccine. An individualistic mindset will get us nowhere. And this kind of talk against the vaccine will only be effective in hurting the public's faith in the vaccine. Yet again, the opposition does not seem to care about that. While online school is an option, articles from the New York Times shows that students were forced through online school has shown significant declines in the test results of reading and math. Not only this, but they fail to mention underprivileged children who do not have as good of access to the internet and seem to expect that we stay under COVID precautions for the next decade until we can prove that there are no long-term effects to the vaccine. Yet again, I still have not heard any other option to get rid of the COVID vaccine. social distancing and mask mandates have been proven effective, but as we can see, even in this room, not all students will be willing to go under this kind of stress and these kind of regulations for their entire college careers. And as we've seen at multiple big gatherings, such as concerts, football games, and all of this, there have been no masks at a majority of these events. Yet compared to last year, COVID cases have decreased significantly from where they are. And the opposition has not mentioned this at all. I feel that there is not much of another option to getting rid of COVID in the end. If you say that we are going to have to rely on the choices of people and yet just not encourage the vaccine, at least, then there will be no progress made in trying to get rid of COVID and getting back into our normal lives. Once again, we affirm that college campuses should adopt vaccine mandates in order to protect our education and way of life. The known risks of COVID-19 illness and its related, possibly severe complications such as long-term health problems, hospitalization, and even death far outweigh the potential risks of having a rare adverse reaction to the vaccination, including possible risks of myocarditis or pericarditis. In addition, I would just wish that we would care more about those that might potentially die instead of worrying about our own choices that may have complications on others who are at risk. And I wish that the opposition would provide me of some form of prevention to COVID-19.
Okay, hi, I'm Allison, and my team has argued today that COVID-19 vaccines, while they may be a good thing, they should not necessarily be mandated on college campuses. Financial insensitivity has been a main problem in the U.S. healthcare system for years. Large pharmaceutical companies have a history of controversy, like the opioid epidemic that happened between 1999 and 2016, and there was over 500,000 deaths from that. And the FDA has a history of not really caring about the long-term effects with drugs and food. Like Enrique mentioned, nitrates are FDA approved, but have been linked to cancer. So can we really trust what the FDA approves? There's also been a lot of other foods that have been approved by the FDA that are illegal in other countries. So are they really that trustworthy? And the two largest pharmaceutical companies are the ones distributing the vaccine, which is kind of concerning. Johnson & Johnson and Pfizer both have a value of over $50 billion, and Pfizer has made close to $1 billion in profits from the vaccine alone. And not only are big pharmaceutical companies profiting from the vaccine, with little concern for public health, colleges seem to not really care for the health of the students as well. Colleges continue to host sports games while profiting millions in ticket sales, and there's not that much screening going on for the people attending. They're not making sure that they're masked, they're not making sure that they are vaccinated, because they're making a profit from their tickets. And not just the fans, but the athletes as well. They continue to be likely to spread the disease by traveling and being in close contact with each other. And they also make a lot more money from class being in session in person. So why would they make sure that people are following guidelines, people aren't sick, when they can make money from that? Secondly, there is also a social pressure and a threat to bodily autonomy. Many companies are requiring the vaccine, causing people to be fired if they do not receive it. A main concern many people have is how quickly the vaccine came out and started being mandated. COVID-19 is a relatively new disease. It only started spreading to the U.S. less than 2 years ago, and the vaccine came out less than a year ago. So how can we really trust this vaccine? And the CDC, like Caroline mentioned, has shared a lot of mixed information about the vaccine, masks, and social distancing. And not having blind trust in the vaccine can cost you your job and now your education. And with that being said, students' education is threatened by not getting the vaccine. Whatever the reason is for students not wanting the vaccine, they could be kicked out of school altogether or just have to take online courses. And while online courses were a short-term solution back in 2020, it may not be the best option for a lot of students long-term. Students cannot interact with their professors or classmates and get the full college experience that I'm sure most people desire. Many international students as well come from different cultures and religions that could possibly go against the vaccine. So who are we to say that they need to take this shot once they come into our country and attend our schools? While the vaccine may not be a bad thing, there are valid concerns that would make a person not want it. So it really wouldn't be fair to mandate the vaccine in colleges. And the main problem that we have is with the mandate and not with the vaccine itself.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Great debate.
If you were in here for extra credit, there's a sign-up sheet at the front of the room. You need to put your name on it and other things which are mentioned on the sign-up sheet. Or you won't get your extra credit. Yes.
Appreciate you, timekeeper. Appreciate you, Kendall.
Hey, boys, Jared.
Yes.
Very interesting